Welcome to the Deep Blue Podcast, episode 4. The purpose of these podcasts is to provide inspiration for future generations of talent, but also to allow you to hear from successful people within business. Now, our special guest today, she is an absolute legend on LinkedIn, a fellow ex-LinkedIn colleague who we have here, who has left an incredibly well-paid position to go and set up her own business, the Hype Department. She's now out there providing absolutely unhinged guidance on LinkedIn. You've probably guessed who it is, and you can probably see who it is. But I'd like to introduce to you Alicia Teltz.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to this one, being a LinkedIn-specific podcast. But yeah, we'll jump straight into it if that's okay.
I'm super happy. This is cool because you have been on the inside as well.
I have.
So let's see what we can uncover.
Hopefully no skeletons on this podcast, but we will
try to stick to the script.
So Alicia, I'd love to just delve into it from the top. You know, that first part. You were at LinkedIn, one of the most recognized brands that you could work for, an incredibly well-paid position. You know, talk us through your rationale and your thinking as to why you wanted to leave.
Why the hell would you leave?
Yeah.
To be fair, I could ask you the same question. Because we left at around the same time, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. For me personally, I mean, I always wanted to have my own business and try, because I always was thinking, what if you're like on your deathbed and then you reflect back on your life and you think you haven't even tried? But I didn't know when and where and how. And so when I was at LinkedIn, I was always teaching those multi-billion-dollar companies on how to show up on LinkedIn, how to post, etc. But I was actually such a hypocrite because I've never posted myself. And it's funny, and I'm not sure if you think the same, but like everyone assumes a LinkedIn employee, they are really good on LinkedIn, they know how to post, they show up regularly, and it's just not the case. So I was just standing there teaching them about something I only know in theory, but never in practice. So in February this year, so just like, I don't know, 8-9 months ago, I made a very public statement saying I'm going to grow my own following to 10,000 followers. Vanity metrics aside, but I literally just wanted to say, hey, I'm a LinkedIn employee and I'm figuring shit out. Like we don't know how to post. We are not being taught. This is not part of our onboarding program. And I wanted to just be able, when I then advise my clients, what does it actually mean? How does it feel? And I was also wondering, like, why didn't I post beforehand? And it's just like, it feels cringe, or like you're unsure what to say and if people want to hear it. Anyhow, this is a very long answer to your question, but we will get there. Because then starting to show up on LinkedIn, so many doors opened, and this just reinforced my dream of wanting to have my own business, and then thinking, actually, if I keep up building my personal brand, I will, figure out what I actually enjoy talking about, which helps me to see what direction I want to get into if I were to start a business, but also seeing I'm building demand. People are slipping into my DMs whilst I was still at LinkedIn, asking me for help on their LinkedIn, etc. And I thought, could this be my business? And this is then where I thought, okay, I do it now. If not now, when will you do it? Because there's never the right time. So that was like kind of the catalyst and the point where I thought, let's just do it. Yeah. And also, who says, I know I had a very well-paid position, but also who says that I won't be able to make the same amount or even more money with my own business? So I thought, let's try it. Because worst case, you just go back to another job or back to LinkedIn. Hopefully they open the door if ever I would know. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's, you know, I can remember seeing your very public posts, you know, I think it's like a 30-day countdown, and every day you were doing a different, you know, a different post on your exit to LinkedIn. So it's very, very public. And, you know, you talked about that, you know, building your personal brand and sort of people sliding into your DMs, and we'll come on to a bit more about that and how businesses can actually leverage it. Yeah. But interesting to hear you talk about, you know, when you were at LinkedIn, you never used to, but how often did you post when you were at LinkedIn?
So I hardly ever posted. And even before I joined LinkedIn, I was like, when I was interviewing, I was like, please don't go to my LinkedIn profile because it's dead. It's poorly set up, and I've never ever posted. But in the end, it wasn't an issue because, as I said, hardly any LinkedIn employees post themselves. But yeah, showing up on the platform just opened so many doors, and it is just the best thing that I've ever made a decision on doing. Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff. The next thing I was going to ask you is, related to your LinkedIn profile. And you will know that it's a tradition at LinkedIn. It's a new team member in a room or you're introducing yourself. The question you'd always get asked is, what is one thing that isn't on your LinkedIn profile? And so I'm going to ask you the same question. So what is something that people wouldn't otherwise know about you that isn't on your LinkedIn profile?
You know what? Nowadays, today, I think everything is on my LinkedIn profile because I'm very, very open. But back in the day, like I always kept my LinkedIn profile so professional and never really putting anything personal on it, whether it's in post or in my profile itself. Which I also love to encourage people, like show who you are, even in your like about section, like are you a dancer? Do you like baking? Do you do coaching on the side? Put that in so people see what it is that you enjoy doing. And for me personally, I always say, like you have the Spotify wrap up at the end of the year. And my number one artist is always Taylor Swift. However, and I know this is not that like crazy, but my second artist is Eminem. And I think like how crazy, like it couldn't be further apart on the scale of like music taste.
Yeah.
And I think this just shows like how my mind works because my mind is just in very different.
It's a diverse collection
Very
you've got there, but that's great. That's that's great. That's where interesting thing happen, right? So
I hope so.
yeah. The next thing I was going to ask you was more about your experience at LinkedIn. So obviously you were there for a number of years. You had quite a senior position at LinkedIn, and people who work at LinkedIn always post very positively about it, have great experiences. So I'm going to ask you a twofold question here. So the first part is, what did you really enjoy about LinkedIn and what did you really learn and get from that experience? And then the second part we'll move on to is, what did you not particularly enjoy about working at LinkedIn?
And I would love to ask you the question after I answered it to see if you feel the same way.
Okay.
I think of all the companies I've worked for, so I've worked at SAP, MasterCard, Gartner, also a few smaller businesses, but like huge organizations. And LinkedIn, I wholeheartedly say, was the best company I've ever worked for in the sense of the culture, work-life balance, benefits, pay, like all of those things. It was a great company to work for. However, it is still a massive organization. You're such a small fish in a big sea. And that's something I was really missing, like the impact. When you're closing a deal, it's great, but actually like in terms of their annual revenue, LinkedIn is an $18 billion business. Like I'm not moving the needle as much. I know on paper in like my performance review, I say like, oh, I closed this and I contributed to LinkedIn's like success. But actually, did I? I'm not sure. It didn't feel like as much as like I'm moving something here. And that's what is a shame. And then also, I think on the other hand, what we spoke about earlier is this, we are not showing up as role models in terms of how you should use LinkedIn. Because in the end, LinkedIn makes money by selling software. And we as like account managers, because you were in a similar role to me, we are all about selling the software, but not really regarding LinkedIn as this whole 360 platform where you show up, you build a presence, etc., and utilizing the products. We are so focused on just the product side. And that's something that I found just strange that like LinkedIn is not encouraging as much. We have like LinkedIn, like the CEO, Ryan Wolanski, he posts every now and then, but hardly any of the other leaders are showing up like regularly on the platform. So if they are not leading by example, of course the employees are also not leading.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you love and what?
Yeah, so mine, do you know what? Fairly similar to you. So my background has always been software sales, large scale organizations like IBM as an example, to, real small software startup companies in London. And my experience at LinkedIn was I joined the LSS team, which is the sales solutions business. And, it felt like a very small startup, but with the wrapper of an enterprise organization. So decisions happened quickly, you got stuff done, you were well recognized for your efforts within that business unit because it was small and growing at the time.
That's nice.
And similar to you, like, I would hands down say that LinkedIn by far is the best organization that I worked for the same reasons, right?
Yeah.
The culture, the work-life balance, the way they ran their business to support their employees. And, it's not just, let's chuck some pizza and beers in the office and have that after. It's like, going to sales kickoff, right?
So cool.
What an awesome experience to be able to have been part of. And, people think about these things as being quite stale, but actually it was a super fun environment. there wasn't too much learning to take on board, and it was more about meeting your colleagues and networking and having a great time.
And making friends. That's something. I really met some amazing people, and we're still in touch. And friends.
SA definitely, it's a place to meet people and stay in touch with them as well. But yeah, for all of those reasons, like those are the things I loved about LinkedIn. I thought the product was good. You could go out and speak to anybody about what LinkedIn does, and someone would say, "Oh yeah, no, I get LinkedIn, and we could be doing more on LinkedIn," and that's what really kept me going. It's like people are seeing good stuff from what is being delivered. So yeah, I think those are the main things that sort of keep me going.
Also, LinkedIn is just growing so much more in importance. More and more people are waking up how important LinkedIn is and how to use LinkedIn. And it is good working for a company that is on that upwards trend where it's not just that much of a grind. First of all, to just say like, I work for XYZ company, and everyone's like, so what? But saying like, I work for LinkedIn, people instantly understand it, and then they're curious because they know how important it is these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. And then actually that links on very nicely to the next question. So we talked about businesses being able to leverage LinkedIn, and companies and individuals as well to sort of build their profiles out. Where do you feel there's more opportunity for businesses, individuals on LinkedIn to see more tangible sort of returns? So where do you feel people are lacking at this point in time on LinkedIn?
How much time do we have?
We have
this
as much time as you got. Go.
I think for businesses in particular, and also let me know if you see anything different or have anything to add. But I think a lot of businesses, they only use LinkedIn with their company page, and what they post is very much like bottom funnel. So what I always like to think of LinkedIn content is like this funnel where you have top funnel content, which is designed for like visibility and brand awareness. Middle funnel is more of like client success stories, building that trust and credibility with the audience that already follows you. And then bottom funnel is literally like, we have this new product, or this is coming up, etc. And I find company pages, they are just so bottom funnel all the time, just about like us, and this is what we do, and buy our product. So that's the one thing where they're not really thinking about it in terms of a funnel. But then also just using the company page rather than leveraging their employees. There are so many statistics now out there in terms of how impactful it is when employees are posting from a brand affiliation perspective. Like if every employee in a business is showing up and representing the company in their own respective like skills, whether you're in HR, finance, etc. Imagine every employee becomes like a mini influencer, speaking on stage with the company logo behind. That has such an impact. But I think companies, they are so scared of like, what if they say something wrong? What if like this is not really the message we want to put out? But that is then a question around trust. Like you trust your sales folks to speak with clients every day, but you don't trust them to put out a LinkedIn post. So it's like this whole culture around like, we are scared of what you're saying, aka we don't trust you to represent us in the best way. And this is just something that I want to fundamentally change in leaders' minds.
I think I 100% agree with everything. There is a huge opportunity for employees to not only build trust, but think about how authentic it is when it comes from someone within an organization who's advocating on behalf of what they're doing as a business. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of those voices to amplify and post content on LinkedIn, right? So it's not a single message from a company page. It's 100 or 1,000 different messages from within inside the business.
Exactly. When people make buying decisions, trust is the number one factor. And you are more likely to buy something from someone who you trust, which could be a friend, a family member, an ex-colleague, etc. So when they post about something, their potential buyers seeing it, thinking, oh yeah, if John says this, that must be good. So yeah, use that, leverage it. And just so this is from like a trust perspective, but just like literally from a scaling perspective, you don't have to pay marketing, sponsored ads, etc. if you leverage your employees. They all have like, I think on average, everyone has like an audience of around like 1,000 to 2,000 people in the network. If you leverage all your employees, that instantly has like such a huge impact. so underutilized. But also I think a lot of employees, they're just, as I said, like they are scared posting, not just because of like that the leaders don't trust them, but also them themselves. They think like, why should I put in the effort? Because it takes effort to like log onto the platform and think about what to say and put it into the right format, etc. So it's that mindset shift of like, what is in it for you if you were to show up? Because it's for your own career, it's your own asset. Like your audience, whether you want to stay in the company, the visibility shows you for your immediate team members, your leaders, your clients, what you do, how good you are, how skilled you are. But then also if you wanted to go somewhere else, they already see what you do, what you're an expert in. And if you want to set up your own business, you already build an audience. So it is your own asset into your future.
I think that's so important to understand. It's not just you're advocating on behalf of the company. Think about what you're doing for your own personal career as well. And that's the piece I think that's missing.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that links very nicely as well into our next sort of segment as well around what you're doing now. So the hype department, obviously going out, helping individuals, companies, businesses with their LinkedIn approach, their strategy, talk about unhinged strategies. So talk to us a little bit about that. So, you know, how are you going out? What sort of strategies are you sort of helping businesses with or individuals with? And how's it going in general?
So I left LinkedIn at the end of June. So 1st of July, first day of freedom, as I like to say, corporate freedom. So it's now been 4 months. Hold on, we are July, August, September, October, 4 and a bit months. So I'm still stumbling my way through, but this is literally what I'm doing. I'm helping individuals who want to level up their LinkedIn game, but also businesses. Because as I said earlier, when I was building my own audience, people were coming into my DMs asking for help, and I felt like, well, I should charge for that, which is great, but also very satisfying seeing that impact. And I think in terms of like the audacity and like unhinged advice is I show up on my LinkedIn in the most authentic way. And I get so many comments about like, oh, your content is so like real. And this is also what I want to encourage everyone to do and to think about. I want my clients to show up on LinkedIn as if they were to talk to a friend. If they're on a call with a client, they don't want to be in a situation where the client is like, oh, you sound so different. I thought you were like, a different type of character. So, and being unhinged, meaning for me, I like to swear every now and then. That's my character. Judge me, that's fine. So being bold, saying the things you're thinking about it, putting it out there, and then yes, there are strategies that a lot of like the LinkedIn gurus tell you in terms of like join an engagement pod or do this or that. I mean, engagement pods, there's a whole other conversation. But there are strategies on how to like grow your audience. And I try to make sure that I have a really good understanding of what the tactics are out there, but filtering down to those ones that actually make sense, that help you sustainably long term. And like, for example, something that I get challenged on all the time is like this typical vanity metric of like 100,000 followers. What does this actually mean? Fair enough. Like if they're all random people that are not ready to buy, makes no sense. But then on the other hand, if they are your right customers, that's brilliant. But even if they are not the right customer, if someone, a potential client, lands on your profile and sees you have 100,000 followers, that builds instant credibility. I'm not saying you should go out and just have like lots of random people in your audience, but this is, for example, something where I say, yes, this is a little bit unhinged, but also think about it. This is how human nature works. Not everyone is also so in the nitty-gritty with LinkedIn. We spend so much time on the platform. We know, like, we can instantly see, oh, like this looks a bit like strange or dodgy or whatever. However, if someone is new to LinkedIn and they just see your profile and it looks very well set up and has a decent following, you're instantly like, you have a bit of credibility. So
yeah. And you touched on a couple of things there actually. So engagement pods, authenticity on LinkedIn. So I want to ask you around, you know, AI, you know, it's prevalent. It certainly has its uses. But when it comes to AI and maybe posting on LinkedIn or commenting on LinkedIn, like where do you stand on that? Like, what's your view on it?
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions around this. And to be fair, I use a lot of AI, and you probably as well. And I think everyone. And if you're not using AI, that also means you're behind. You're missing out on something. But just the biggest mistake people do is using AI to craft a post, and they post a post as AI is giving it to you. And that is just so bland and boring and everyone sounds exactly the same and we can smell it from a mile away. Everyone can see it, even though they're not like on LinkedIn every day of the week, but they can still see like this just sounds so, this doesn't sound like you. And I love to use AI to brainstorm. So sometimes I love to use like the voice function. So I love to talk to I actually gave it a name. His name is Mario, because I was thinking in the past, normally assistants are female. So I wanted to make a point that I call my ChatGPT Mario. Bless him. He's great. So yeah, I checked to Mario and I said like, hey, I want to do a LinkedIn post about this topic. I want to highlight this. I want to focus it on that persona, etc. And I said like, give me a draft, give me some ideas. And then I use that and like as a sparring partner, but then I radically changed the wording, put my own touch to it. Like, this is the only way I think how you should use AI in like the ideation process, but never to give you the final result. And also in terms of commenting, like if I see an AI comment, this is just so bad. It's so annoying. And quick story. Sorry, I'm talking for a while here.
No, go for it.
But literally, yesterday I was speaking to someone and this really bugged me. The person does something similar to us, like helping people with their LinkedIn. And they were saying, oh, I can see you have a lot of like really random people in your comments. And I said like, how so? They're like, yeah, they're like from developing countries, etc. And I was like, and like, is their opinion there? Sorry, like for example, I put out a post about my sister walking into like an exam like with her child, and there was someone from a developing country writing a comment, heartfelt, with their own experience about their mom, etc. It was such a good comment, and just because someone is from a different region doesn't mean their opinion is less valuable. But then under the same post, I had someone, a white middle-aged man, reputable company, and that comment was pure AI. And I just think I'd rather block that person than the person from a developing country. So this is just what I want to make sure, like people need to show up as their real selves, being non-judgmental and opening like different opinions, different regions, different cultures into the audience. This is where you get like different perspectives, and this is where your mind is open. Apologies, but as I said, like I say apologies because I just went like on a bit of like a tangent there, but I felt so passionate about this because be authentic, be your real self, add value, and not just use AI. It diminishes your credibility instantly. Like that person, that white middle-aged man, I lost my respect for them instantly.
Yeah. And I think that this is one of the things I'd say I'm seeing is, people are seeing AI as a bit of a shortcut, as a way to, comment at scale. It's not really from them. It's not authentic. It's just something that is spat out. And, they have limited control over what is being posted out there as well, just to, artificially boost their presence.
For the sake of it. Yeah. It's just, and they are just trying to cheat the game, and it will just not support them in the long run. This is exactly what I said earlier. They might build an audience of 100,000 people. But how valuable are they? Do they really trust that person? Probably not.
No, exactly.
How do you use AI?
So interesting post. So interesting topic. So I tend to create all of my posts manually by myself. So it could be, it would be something situational or something that's happened or something that I'm doing, and I will go out and I will start to type out what I want to write, and then I'll go back and edit like parts of it, and then once I'm happy with it, I will post it. Because going back to your point earlier, I want people to see that if I meet them in person, I speak how I write. It's the same person. This is Sanjeev on LinkedIn, but this is Sanjeev in person, and you're going to get the same experience. So I try really hard, and it does take me a bit of time to do it, but I think, through posting regularly, I'm building that consistency now on how I like to write. And I might ask an opinion. So I might ask someone for an opinion, say, would you mind just reading through this? And, does it look okay? Or, what else would you add? Or would you highlight anything else different? Because people obviously think differently. But I tend to try and do most of it myself. There may be a time when I go to AI and maybe ask for, like you say, about ideation, maybe some topics or something. What's hot at the moment? And how can I relate that to my experience? And then I'll create something. But yes, I am one for the posts coming from the individual, that's my brand,
Yeah.
and what you see is what you
Yeah.
get from the same person.
And what you just said is really good in terms of ideation, to see what is hot right now, in the sense of what is happening in the news, like what is something that is currently being discussed in the world, and then putting your own spin to it, in the sense of what are you an expert in,
Yeah.
what is your skills, your expertise, and how can you bring that your own opinion into it.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, and especially for like companies, for CEOs, executives, etc., when they don't know what to talk about. This is brilliant, because this really shows your own thought leadership with something that is currently relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff.
Good. We're on the same page,
Nice.
which is good.
Good.
The other question I was going to ask about, so, and you will know, so, being someone who's quite influential on LinkedIn, having a large following.
I love that you just pointed at me when you said influential.
Oh, I mean, obviously, you've got to
compliments.
only see through the amount of engagement you get with your
Yeah.
posts when you turn up on LinkedIn. There are lots of people offering advice and guidance on LinkedIn, and lots of people with varying opinions and so on and so forth. So I guess the question I had is, like, how do you navigate all of that opinion and all the stats that are out there, and does that affect what you post going forwards, or how do you sort of go around that?